Call from Dr. David Clark.
Mr. Chair, I won't take more than a couple of calls further at this point, Mr. Chair. But with your indulgence, where I was at when the Minister took a call, and I'm glad that he did, because I have to say it's very good to have a Minister responding from the Chair, and we don't always get it in this House, because when we have questions, it is good for the House to debate it fully. So I commend the Minister for engaging in the debate. Where I was getting to, Mr. Chair, was to point out just how humiliating this bill really is for the government. It does achieve some good things, and we will be supporting it for the fact that it is an attempt to make sure that the collection of student loans is fairer. It is an attempt to make sure that those struggling to pay off their student debt in New Zealand are aware that those overseas are equally obliged to pay off their debt, as Mr. Dunn has made clear. But what the bill also does is smuggle through a range of changes which are actually backdowns on previous policy that this government deemed to be policy good enough to take the House's time, to be debated fully and then to be implemented. And at that point, the government realised that it was incapable of actually implementing it. And this is a problem which has become a theme at the IRD, because we know that the computer system there is over 20 years old. The computer system at the IRD existed well before Facebook, 10 years before Facebook it came into existence, well before Google, in fact well before the internet as we know it today. And this government has failed to upgrade that system. The current minister has been minister for, I think, more than 7 years in that role, and we have a computer system that is not up to the task of delivering the policy that this government would want to implement to make sure the student loan scheme was fairer. And that is a disgrace. That is a disgrace. Part of what we have to debate here today is withdrawing things that this government has deemed would make the scheme fairer, peeling back those steps forward and using the House's time to debate again those issues, and to try and argue that they are no longer as important as they once were, once we've realised just how ruined, I was going to use another less polite word, the IRD scheme is. And Mr. Chair, we know, for example, that is illustrated in the 70,000 phone calls that went unanswered in the GST filing period in July last year. That shows a department under stress. There are over 1 million unprocessed returns. There is over $7 billion in outstanding tax to be collected. We know the IRD is a department under pressure. We know that the computer system is struggling, and yet we have seen no credible plan from this government to address that issue. We've seen no credible timeline, no credible plan for building a replacement system. It's spent tens of millions of dollars on consultants, Capgemini lead amongst them, and this means that we should expect to be able to await that this legislation can be implemented. Mr. Chair, I have grave concerns that the data matching, as outlined in this bill, will not be able to be implemented by this government. I have serious concerns, and perhaps the Minister and the Chair may take another call to outline the credible plan for making sure this happens. Now, they have, I have to say, the government, they have put in a little clause in there which we have opposed, which would give them free rein to withdraw any further things, to change the details of how things are implemented or the timeframes. They put in what is commonly known as a Henry VIII clause. And this is to cover for future humiliating backdowns. And it may be the case that everything we are debating here today is unable to be implemented by this government. And that is a ridiculous, Mr. Chair, that is a ridiculous position to be in. We wonder what Parliament is for at that point, if it isn't to debate the changes that are going to be made to all of our public services over time. And we are here debating these, but we have no idea whether they can be implemented. And the evidence, the historic evidence, is that in the past they haven't been able to be implemented. So I would like the Minister and the Chair in a future call to stand up to explain a credible timeline for repairing the tax system. We know that the tax take dropped 4% during the previous term of this government. Only 1.5% of that was estimated to be from the global financial crisis. A great chunk of it was policy changes by this government, the tax cuts for the wealthy. And since then, the government has been revising down its tax forecasts. It has a problem. It has a tax hole problem, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair.
Raymond Ho.
Oh, Mr. Chair.